James 4, verse 1 to 12, unfolds as a piercing exposure of conflict within a covenant people standing at the edge of transition. The strife described is not merely personal disagreement, but the manifestation of inward desires rooted in a system that had not yet reached its consummation. Wars and fightings arise from lusts warring in the members, an internal unrest tied to a people still conscious of lack, still striving, still measuring themselves under a framework that stirred comparison, envy, and accusation. You lust and do not have, you murder and covet and cannot obtain. The language reflects the intensity of covenant tension. Desire is inflamed because fulfillment, though promised, had not yet been fully realized in their experience. Asking and not is not a failure of divine generosity, but a misalignment with the unfolding purpose. Requests shaped by self-interest rather than the reality of what had already been secured. Adulterers and adulteresses. This is covenant language, echoing the prophets who spoke of Israel's unfaithfulness. Friendship with the world is not merely moral compromise, but allegiance to a fading order, clinging to what was passing away rather than embracing what had been established. To remain attached to that system was to stand in opposition to the God who was bringing it to its appointed end. Yet the declaration stands: He gives more grace. Where the old exposed inability, grace abounds beyond measure. The answer to pride, striving, and internal war is not increased effort, but divine provision. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humility here is the recognition of dependence, not upon law, not upon self, but upon what God Himself has accomplished. Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. The adversary in this context is not merely a personal tempter, but the accuser, the one who operates within the realm of condemnation. Resistance is not through struggle, but through standing in the reality of what has been given. Drawing near to God is not an act of distance being closed by human effort, but the acknowledgement of nearness already established. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded. The double-mindedness reflects a divided allegiance, caught between two covenants, two identities, two realities. The call is not toward ritual cleansing, but toward singularity of vision, to see clearly what is true and to abandon the instability of mixture. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. This language mirrors prophetic calls to recognize the seriousness of their condition, not as a demand for ongoing sorrow, but as a moment of awakening. Laughter turned to mourning reflects the collapse of misplaced confidence. Joy turned to heaviness signals the end of reliance on what cannot endure. And yet, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up. The lifting is not future reward, but participation in what has already been secured through Him. Do not speak evil of one another, brethren. Accusation belongs to the old realm, the realm of judgment and law. To speak against a brother is to position oneself as judge, to step into a role that belongs to God alone. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. The authority rests entirely with Him. The question, who are you to judge another, dismantles every claim to self-exaltation. In these words, the unrest, striving, and judgment that characterize a people under tension are brought into the light. What replaces it is not a new system of effort, but a complete reliance upon the grace that has been given in abundance, where conflict gives way to rest, accusation to acceptance, and division to a unified standing before God.